Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Aries and your moon in Scorpio. And I actually thought that I did this. Somebody requested it. I searched my channel. Nothing came up. So I might have done the opposite with the sun in Scorpio and the moon in Aries. That's a definite possibility. But anyway, I've been doing these off the top of my head instead of typing out some notes. And I'm like, why do I feel compelled to tell people this? And I think it's just to let you know that in case I jump around, that's why. But it seems like I've been even more concise than when I have my notes. So that's kind of strange. But anyway, the first thing I thought of when I thought of this combination is Shannon Doherty. And maybe there's some people out there who don't know who she is. I don't watch television, so I don't know if she's in any shows. I know she's been struggling with an ongoing health issue, and I feel for her. My heart goes out to her. Back in the day, and I can't believe it, but it's been like 30 years. There was a show called Beverly Hills 90210. And I was not a teenager then. I was actually in my 20s, and I was addicted to this show. Only like the first couple of years do I think it was really good. And she was one of the main people on that show. And what happened was she developed a reputation for being a diva. And I think I've read interviews with her where she says that she was misunderstood. And that's a complete possibility because I do think this combination can be misunderstood. I think all people with moon in Scorpio can be misunderstood. And I really do feel for people with their moon in Scorpio. That is not a patronizing statement. I feel that it is a difficult placement, probably the most difficult moon to have. And I do have a video just specifically on the moon in Scorpio. So if you're interested in that, check out my channel. So what we're talking about here is somebody whose sun is in Aries. Now the sun is exalted in the first house that Aries represents. And this is because the first house, being the house of the self, is really what the sun is all about. The sun is about the individual. How do you shine your light on the world as an individual? It doesn't get more individual than Aries. Well, the other fire signs, maybe Aquarius, is very much individualistic, but I digress. So a person who has their sun in Aries wants to make their mark on the world as themselves. It's like, I did this. So being like collaborating in a group is not really your cup of tea, to say the least. And maybe if you have Libra rising, you can make a good show of it, but that's not your bag. And working for other people is not your bag either. It doesn't mean you're not going to ever do it, but you're probably not going to be a happy camper until you're calling the shots or working for yourself and calling your own shots. That's just how it is, because not only are you a fire sign, which is very interested in personal freedom and personal self-expression, but you're also a cardinal sign, and that is a leadership quality. Unfortunately, because there are lower expressions of every sign, the lower expression of Aries can be somebody who is very self-absorbed or downright narcissistic, arrogant instead of confident, a bully instead of a protector, because the higher manifestation of Aries is somebody who protects the little guy, the underdog. But if that gets distorted in some way, that person can be a bully, the Aries. Non-cooperative. Even if somebody is a leader, the really good leader is, is cooperative. I remember working in a school and the principal wasn't an Aries, was another sign that was a cardinal sign. And I remember saying, and I was saying this like as a suggestion, what you guys should do is blah, blah, blah. And the principal shot back at me and said, I don't have to do anything. And it was just a matter of speech. I wasn't like bossing this person around. But that is that kind of, and this person, like I said, wasn't an Aries. I wouldn't expect this coming from this person. Even, because I wasn't treating them as, oh, wow, they are my ultimate boss. I was just treating them as any other employee at that school. And that was an affront to this person. So the point is that cardinal signs really identify in that role. And so that kind of thing can be quite difficult if you ever find yourself in a subordinate position. Now let's look at the moon. The moon is the emotional nature. So the moon represents the mother and the sun represents the father. The moon can, to me, is a shadow self in and of itself because it is that reflecting quality. So it's not going to, sometimes people I think get confused, and even I confessed to that in the past, of like, wait a second, if we have a moon sign, if my, because my, so somebody can have like the sun in Aries. What if you have the moon in Aries? What's the difference? People, because they know that the moon is considered an important part of a person's chart. But they're like, but they have the same, what are the difference? It's the same sign. How does it differ? Well, the moon, to me, can come across with more of the challenging effects because it is the emotional nature. So emotions are not rational, and therefore they're chaotic. Can you tell I don't have any water in my personal planets? And so I'm not enamored by emotions necessarily. I mean, I think that, I think it was Abraham Hicks who said that they are our GPS system, the emotion on the emotional level. And that resonates with me, like they can guide us, but sometimes they can guide you in a terrible place if your emotions get the best of you. So I don't necessarily agree with that 100%. I don't worship the emotions because I think a lot of them are challenging in and of themselves. And I think also, they say that the moon is karmic, and so they're deeply rooted in past experiences. And a lot of those experiences may be traumatic and not so, in other words, not pleasant. And the person gets triggered by that and they react. It's reactive. It's not active. I think of the sun as acting and the moon as reacting. Okay. So with it being in Scorpio, and you think about what Scorpio is, the person has a very intense emotional response to life. Okay. Now, this may also be accompanied by experiences that have occurred that are traumatic in a greater quantity than other people on this planet. I'm making a pretty broad, bold statement here. Can I prove that? Nope. I'm just assuming this. And I'd also say the same about Pisces. Whether whether it's the sun in Pisces, the moon, or even the rising sign, that the person may have endured trauma over and over again in their life. And as a result, they have certain coping mechanisms, certain reactions to events that occur to them later on that are coming from that, that are informed by that trauma. And depending on how committed the person is to spiritual growth, that will determine how much they have healed. Because if a person wants to heal, they are going to do whatever it takes so that they don't get triggered by pain at the drop of a hat. They're not wallowing in self-pity or any kind of drama because they know that that isn't healthy, that that isn't serving them. And so they'll do whatever it takes. And the traditional methods are going to therapy, hiring healers, going to church, whatever it takes. But of course, all of those things can have pitfalls. You might get a therapist who is not as conscious as they should be, and they suggest things that are not taking you down the healing path. You might get you might spiritually bypass. You might go to church and throw yourself into some kind of very restrictive ideology that feels very safe on the outside because it has a lot of do's and don'ts, but it really isn't freeing your soul. It's just keeping it under lock and key, and it makes you feel safe because you've been through this chaos, emotional and whatever other types of chaos. There's something taboo about Scorpio. It can be, it's associated with sex, so sex abuse is a big one. And even like, this is interesting, it just occurred to me, is that this could be inherited from the mother. You might have a mother who was sexually abused and she never told you, but she was really uptight about sex. She had a negative attitude towards it. Maybe she hated men. Maybe she, when I say hated men, I mean she had these very tumultuous relationships with men, and maybe she didn't pick men who were right for her. There was a lot of chaos with her love life if she wasn't with your father. And what can get set up there is that the young girl becomes a teenager, and then the mother is like competitive with the daughter, especially if she has a man that is coming on to the daughter and that kind of thing. Now, because the mother, we can tell some elements of the mother's treatment towards the daughter through the moon sign. And so with the moon in Scorpio, the mother can be quite smothering in some way, can be obsessed with the daughter, trying to keep her down, trying to control her. Maybe if it's not a bad relationship, the mother is like a mama bear, overly protective, and that can create its own problems, but she means well. She doesn't mean to be so protective. But again, that can come from her own trauma that she is projecting onto her daughter, like her daughter will experience the same thing. So there's a lot of heavy emotions with this moon position, and it's like you take them on. Maybe you inherit them. Kind of like that, what do they call that? Karmic, ancestral karma, that kind of thing. And, it's really funny because I don't have the moon in Scorpio, but I do have the moon in conjunction with Pluto. And so even though I don't have any personal planets in water and my moon is in Virgo of all things, I I was, I realized my intensity emotionally, regardless of that. And I can see how I'm attracted to these kinds of topics because I feel that they are, first of all, very interesting to delve into people's psyches, but also that this is the nitty gritty. This is where it's at. In astrology, a lot of people are really into predictions, and those are fun. But to me, we don't know if they're going to happen because there's something in the future. We know that what we're dealing with psychologically, or we know at least a little bit about what we're dealing with. And if we choose to evolve ourselves, if we believe we're capable of evolution, to me, that's creating our own reality. We don't have to wait for a certain transit to occur for our life to positively transform. We can do that inner alchemy. So anyway, this, suffice it to say, this combination can lead to a person who feels like they are battling life itself. And the danger is that you project inner conflicts onto others and try to create conflicts with people around you, really in attempts to exorcise it. In other words, perform an exorcism on yourself. Get those inner demons out and transfer them to somebody else, or at least, act them out in hopes of getting rid of them. Not saying that you're doing this consciously. It can come about. Now, depending on other aspects of your personality or your chart, let's say you have the sun in the 12th house, or, I could go on, but you might have Pisces rising, something like that. You could have a situation where you're attracting people who are victimizers, and you are fighting them. So if you find yourself attracting people who are controlling and then you're rebelling against them, that is an unhealthy pattern. And yet you may find it very hard to be attracted to people who are very emotionally stable, on an even keel. It may feel boring. You may not feel physically attracted to them. Your Mars, which can be your, it can be, the first thing I was going to say is Mars can be your sex drive, your libido. But Mars is part of, the divine lovers, Venus and Mars. Mars is that masculine element that is more of the physical attraction. And if it is an Aries, you may be attracted to people. But Venus, it depends. They say men should look at their Venus for who they're attracted to. But that's like, I don't know if that's going to be true across the board. But we'll just say Venus and Mars. If your Venus and or Mars is in Aries, you may be attracted to partners who are very feisty, and that's fine. But if they are combative, then of course that can be really problematic and not something that you want to perpetuate that pattern. And really, it's about starting with yourself, not looking to other people and blaming or needing the drama anymore, making peace with the past. All of these things are easier said than done. It's not like snapping your fingers. It can take either therapy or maybe a conjunction therapy and energy healing, or if you just really prefer like a life coach, or even people who have psychic abilities that also offer therapeutic, or life coaching, who knows, whatever it is that floats your boat. But the point is that you're humbling yourself enough to admit that you need help. Now, I'm not saying that all people with this combination need help. I know it sounds like that. I'm just focusing on the ones that do, because if you don't, you don't. If you know, you know. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But it is a challenging position, and don't, kick yourself if you find yourself, in middle age and you're like, when am I going to get my, what together? It seems like I'm always mucking up relationships or mucking up jobs. Like I'm talking back to my boss, and I hate having a boss, but this is where I'm at right now. I don't have my own business. I don't know what I would do if I had my own business. So I have to learn how to get along with other people, and I find that very difficult. And that's what I mean about, I feel like maybe somebody like Shannon Doherty was misunderstood. Maybe she had a lot of strong emotions and she just didn't have an outlet. The thing about Aries is that it's very impetuous or rash. Aries people tend to be impatient, and so they do things. Maybe they say things, especially if you have Mercury in Aries, that are, or maybe if you have a conjunction between your Sun and Mercury, and your Mercury is in an early degree of Taurus or whatever, but it still forms a conjunction. You might be too quick off the draw when it comes to what you say, what you do. Feelings may come very quickly for you, and you don't really, it's like a runaway train or something. So embrace the good side of Aries. Embrace that spontaneity. But when you need to, when it's an important decision or important situation, don't rush it. If you are, embrace the good side of Scorpio, the very emotionally, the very emotionally perceptive side. You may have that very intuitive side, but just very perceptive about what makes other people tick. Also bravery. Both of these signs, because of Mars, have amazing bravery, have confidence. Even the insecure ones have bravado, at the very least. Just cultivate humility. And also, with the moon in Scorpio, don't be emotionally secretive. Don't try to maintain this stiff upper lip, this control, because you feel like that's going to make you strong. No, it doesn't. There's a saying, you're only as sick as your secrets. And I really resonate with that, because there's nothing that people can use against you if you don't see it as this deep, dark secret. What can they do? It's only because of shame. It's only because of those dark emotions that people try their best to hide what they have been up to. And just, because I'm sure that one of the things about the moon in Scorpio is that you want more than anything to form a deep emotional bond with someone. And yet you do things that may, totally sabotage that. So you don't want to do that. So don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't be jealous. Don't be suspicious. Nobody, you do not own anybody. Even if you're married and you've gotten legally married and they're wearing a ring, you still don't own that person. It's a ring. It's not a chain around their neck, like a slave that you're pulling. That's not what another human being is on any level. So, or if you're a boss, you don't get to own your employees. They work for you. And these kinds of things are important because there is a very there's a great fear with Scorpio, and with the moon sign, I can imagine it's even more enhanced, about betrayal, about so somebody, about abandonment. Again, Scorpio may have already experienced this earlier on in life. Scorpio, the eighth house, represents death. So it's not uncommon for people who have a prominent Scorpio to have death be a theme in their life in some way. Whether they've had a lot of loved ones die on them, or they were in some situation where they cheated death, whatever it is. And death is a form of transformation, the ultimate form of transformation. And that's what Scorpio represents. So do that inner alchemy. That's how you heal. And become as humble as possible. Don't allow your lower nature to get the best of you. Cultivate peace in your life. Don't, see it as desirable, not boring. I always say, understand the difference between drama and passion. Because if you don't, you're going to gravitate towards drama and creating this negative pattern of relating to others. And you have so much to offer. You're a force to be reckoned with. Okay, that's what I have for you. I don't know if anyone heard my stomach growling, but I hope that you resonated with this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.